We are back from commercial break. Going to be joining again with Freddie. All right, let's go ahead and get this going back on. I appreciate you guys for hopping right back in. We're back from commercial break. I am relooping Freddie in right now with his Naomi Campbell and her beginning. All right, so we are back.
Yes. So we were talking about hope, right? And
Yes, Hope as well as Naomi Campbell, her beginning, and
well,
really.
yeah, I remember Noah. Naomi, I met her. She was brought to my apartment. She's young, just came to New York,
Mhm.
and there's an incredible guy who I knew from England who brought her to my apartment. And now he's a young girl. And I remember this is around the time I was just about to start doing Bazaar, Harper's Bazaar.
Mhm. Okay.
And there was a wonderful photographer I worked with called Francesco Scavulo. You know him for the Cosmo covers he did back in the
Oh,
day.
okay. Oh, yeah.
So Francesca was one of the people I worked with, and I remember going to him and saying, "Oh, I just saw this unbelievable young girl. She's about 15 years old. We got to use her." And he agreed. I showed him a picture, and I did two big stories with Naomi. She wasn't a cover girl at that time, it was just a model.
Mhm.
We did two magical. No, the story I wanted to take three black girls and turn them into Dana Ross and the Supremes.
Oh,
Naomi being
okay.
one of them, Karen, um, Karen would be one of them, and also anyway, three girls. I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment. Sorry,
No
bear with me.
problem.
Anyway, three black girls.
Mhm.
Um, Karen Alexander was one of them. Anyway, what happened was the other two girls had another booking, so they couldn't do it. So I ended up doing it on Naomi on her own. So I
Okay.
changed the story to just make Naomi the star of it. So
Mhm.
there were things that you get yourself in a position to promote and help, and for instance, the first bazaar I remember Karen Alexander, who's a lovely, lovely girl, um, and she was quite not getting a cover as yet in
Mhm.
magazines. And I remember at bazaar I went to Los Angeles to do a fashion story on her, but inside, not a cover.
Mhm.
And with a magazine, what makes the magazine come together, as you know, because you have a magazine, it's people who are
Mhm.
advertising it.
Yes.
That keeps their magazine alive, right? The
Mhm. Yes.
advertisers.
Yes.
So Calvin Klein was the hottest advertiser at that time.
Okay.
And went up to the Calvin Klein and got an outfit and didn't say anything about it. And while we were shooting this other, I can't remember what is the other story I was doing. I said, Karen came to the studio and I did a cover try on her without telling the magazine I was doing that. And the
Mhm.
photographer agreed on it. We did it, and she got the cover. And why she got the cover, I tricked them into using the Calvin Klein suit that they're desperate to have on the cover.
Right.
So that's how she got her cover, and that was it. But if you go back I'm going to go back about something about women of color in the first person in the world to get a cover
Mhm.
of Vogue was British Vogue in the 60s.
Mhm.
And it was Dahlia Luna, who was an American who went to live in Europe. She did a movie called Satira Khan, and she sadly committed suicide later on. But she
Oh,
got her first Vogue cover was British Vogue of all magazines. British Vogue gave her the
right.
cover, and British Vogue. If you're going to talk about the whitest magazine, it's British Vogue. So, but anyway,
Mhm.
she was given a cover. And then I remember we're going back into a bit of history, but I think one should know this. There was a wonderful model called Helen Murray. She wasn't a model. She worked in an agent's office where Lena Horne back in the 40s
Okay.
agent was. And she now this story was told to me but
Mhm.
later on. But Lena Horne was encouraged to be a model, but of course they wouldn't use her as a model here at that time in the 40s to be a model, a black woman. But but she went to Paris and she became the house model for Christian Dior after the war. You know, it was that was a bit. But you know, the thing is that Paris was a wonderful place where it really did a lot for because it just saw them as exotic and wonderful. As what happened to with Yves Saint Laurent, the Cabine, and Givenchy, and all these people. And these girls were pros. They made the clothes come alive. I mean, a little later on was, you know, it kind of it flourished, but still there were hiccups. That's why Bethany Hudson, you know, thank God for her. She you know, made a thing, made a project of making it be normal. You know, because there was a time when it was all about the Russian girls, and you know, it was a trend at the moment, and you couldn't see a black face on the catwalk, but it was a trend. But now the trend is different. Now the trend now is about diversity in everything, whether it's the designer, fashion, hair, makeup, whatever.
Diversity.
Yes, movies. Look at the movie industry now also.
Sure.
There are people winning Academy Awards, which never happened. You know what I mean? So there is hope. And this is what I want to leave it with. There is hope for what it is. If you're going to be creative, really take this time to develop your dreams. Because we have the time now to do it.
We do. Freddie, I appreciate you so much. And I also want to open up this time to questions.
Oh,
so we have our first question from Hannah. So her thing is, do you think the diversity trend will end?
No, started. No way. No. It's pushing it and you know, creativity. If you're creative and you have something to offer, the color doesn't matter. It's your product and your work and your voice.
Okay.
So to me, it's about being creative and having a dream and being prepared for it. It's opening up, it's changing.
And then also, what do you think as far as like us who are getting into the industry, who are very early in, what would be important for us to do to make sure that we continue pushing the diversity and making sure that we keep it alive so it doesn't just become just a trend?
No, this is what you have to do. Everything you're thinking about, you make it up. I think it is, because you have a magazine, obviously, right?
Yes.
So, you know, you have a platform. So you have a platform, you know. So it is. I mean, when you think about the movie industry, there's black people winning the Academy Awards, and you know, it's just, look at the wonderful thing that is happening also too. I think there's hope. I have nothing negative to say about it. I think there is hope, and I think there's going to be things because, listen, black culture, I remember there's always been a fascination about fashion and black, how black wore things. Back in the 40s, you had the zoot suit. You're too young to know what the zoot suit was. It was about
I've heard the name.
Well, it was about oversized jazz singers. Like what is happening now in fashion, incidentally. But if you go back to the zoot suits, they were big, oversized, you know, clothing. War came along also, and then of course there was this padded shoulders that came out after the war. You know what I mean? Where women became stronger because of the war for the men.
More powerful.
More powerful. So you know, Christian Dior did the New York after the war. That happened right after the war. So I just think we're going to go through this, but it's opening up. It's opening up a dialogue and it started happening before this. Slowly, it's going to, you know, it's slowly, but just for instance, you know, the Japanese have, you know, in the old days, you never heard of Japanese designers, but then Comme des Garçons, Yohji Yamamoto and Issey Miyake came along and made statements, but their own statement. And they're good ones because they have it's a very particular look that they have.
Right. No, yeah, I mean, and I appreciate that because I do think it's so important sometimes really to talk about diversity just because even though it seems sometimes like there's a lot, it's still not
Yeah.
enough in some positions. Like
But
there's a lot
also,
visually, but
you
maybe not
know,
in the background as it needs to be.
yeah. But number one, black is not a trend.
Right. Very
I mean,
true.
this is what Coco just think, and she's definitely right. It's not a trend. It's never been a trend. You know, it's there.
Hmm.
You know, it's go back and do. It's not a trend. It's an
It's a forever thing.
opportunity to be allowed into this world we're talking about, but it's not a
Right.
trend.
Hmm. What we did get a question. What is your favorite era that you have in fashion?
That's what Gianni asked that.
Well,
Oh,
I
Gianni.
love.
Gianni. Okay.
Is that Jenny? Well, I think
Yes.
I loved. I got to tell you, I love the 70s.
Okay.
The 70s to me was great. The 70s into the 80s. Another person who is really important to me, who stuck to who they were, is a man called Azzedine Alaïa.
Hmm.
Alaïa was from Tunisia, you know. He's a man of color. But he
Hmm.
created something very, very different than anyone did and still copying.
Hmm.
He's dead now, God bless, but to me, he was a genius. He stuck to
He
who he
created something.
was,
Hmm.
and he is a, he's a man of color, but he was one
Right.
of the most important French designers, as big as Saint
Right.
Laurent and Dior and everyone.
So, with the 70s being your favorite era in fashion, would you say it was your favorite era because of runway as well?
Well, yeah, it was just for me. It was an exciting part of my only because there's so many things happened in the 70s and also into the 80s. But in the 70s, you know, the shows in Paris of Saint Laurent, they were just magical. They were
Hmm.
just magical. And then and my working at Bronx at that time, you know, it was wonderful, exciting. New things were
Right.
happening. And then later on, you became the world of, and into the 80s, you got Claude Montana, Terry Mugler, you got Azzedine coming up, you had all these incredible, the Japanese came up back in the 80s, you know, and it
Hmm.
was wonderful. And Vivienne Westwood in England and all these incredible, they were on in England back in those days. The streets where I lived, where I worked in Kings Road,
Right.
was like a fashion show every 2 minutes because I saw the first, I mean, this is how old I am. I saw the first miniskirt when Mary Kwan did it, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it wasn't that short compared to when it became the micro. And this is back
Right.
because before that, the skirts were down to the knee, but all of a sudden
Uh-huh.
the mini skirt. So it was a quite an enjoyable time. But you know, I'm still curious about fashion. I'm still doing it as much as I can. I don't have any particular magazine. I'm working freelance for different magazines. And
Hmm.
but I'm still interested in it. But also, you know, there's another person, not that he's in fashion, is the um, the guy who did the musical on Broadway, Post. Post.
Cool.
I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment. Sorry.
Cool.
He did Post, the black guy who wore the dress to the Academy Awards and.
Oh,
Oh, pose. Oh, you mean
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry,
okay, okay.
sorry, Post.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I mean,
Yes.
that's incredible what he's done.
Hmm.
And he is actually, I went to one of these talks at Fern Manus that has in the the W and 92nd Street Y, and he
Hmm.
was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. In a
Hmm.
conversation, he was brilliant, and the way how he is portraying himself, it's honest, it's who he is, and
Yeah.
he's been
Billy
accepted
Porter.
big time. Yeah, Billy Porter, I'm sorry.
Billy
Sorry,
Porter, yeah.
mine is a bit dodgy.
So as far as the change that you've seen throughout Runway over the years and changes, what has been the biggest change, as well as how do you think it will continue to change,
Well, I think the
especially
biggest
with the
change is that
impact
people
of.
are beginning to accept people of color. There is a change
Hmm.
happening. But
Hmm.
also, you know, for instance, there was you know, a black style, you're talking about, if you want to talk about, I have seen it being inspired by, for instance, Chanel, for instance, when the
Hmm.
rappers were wearing all the gold jewelry. That was in the
Right.
80s, of course. I remember seeing the most dynamic show for Chanel in Paris, where all the Evangelista and Christy Turlington and all wearing all the oversized gold jewelry and, you know, like puffy and what was going on there.
Right.
So, you
Rope
know,
chain.
black fashion is, yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, when you see what's also happening, no, you know, you had this also a moment where boys were walking around with underwear showing, you know, the pants were
Sagging
gone.
in a huge,
That
right.
was actually on the catwalk in Chanel also, you know what I mean? So
Okay.
there is, you know, there is something there to say, you know what I mean?
Right.
No, it is there, but I just think it's gotten now where we can just move out of the shadows and have a voice. And
Right.
it's all
And really,
about being positive, but having an idea is being creative and having an idea is important because it's not an excuse because I'm black. You gotta be, you know,
you got,
we all have to
right.
shine.
Be talented and be educated
Of
as
course,
well, like you
absolutely,
said,
and
which
brave.
is important
Yeah,
about
be
everyone.
brave. Yeah.
Right. Somebody also asked a question too that I wanted to point out. They said, what advice do you have for somebody who's trying to get into fashion, who's really early in their process?
Well, you have to, if you're early in the process, try to get a job working as an assistant to see how it works. Don't
Right.
become a designer just out of the box. You got to know
Yeah.
what goes on. Like I did, I got fired, but it was fine. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Really, that collaboration process, it goes
yeah,
back to that again.
yeah, no, but learning from a pro. Try to get a job with somebody, no matter what small the job is, because I've done a small job. You know what I mean? So, you know, bringing cups of teas for the ladies waiting for their frocks to be delivered. You know what I mean? It's all
Right.
fine because you learn. So get a job, just get your foot in that door, doing whatever. Because from
Right.
that, it moves on. You know, there's no magic is going to happen. It's about learning the craft. But you have to know what it is to go through the process.
And
You
being
don't just
patient.
become a designer. You know what I mean? You have to
Right.
know how to
Overnight.
make clothes. You have to know how to work with people. You know, there's a lot of things, you know, to have to know the business side of it. And also another key thing is surround yourself with people who believe in you and who are positive about you. Because
That's important.
your company is most important.
I think that's very,
The
very
people who
important. I think even for the people, I know we got most everybody back, but for the people who were here when you was going through your history and you talked about your process, so many things happened by, I'll say, divine coincidence, because I don't believe in just general coincidence, but to lead one thing to another. And a lot of times it wasn't even you trying to do said thing. Like you didn't set out to be a stylist. However, you've easily become one of the most legendary stylists
well,
that fashion
I
has
don't know
known.
about legendary, nor easy. Easy is a challenge. That's no, not
No,
easy.
no,
Heck,
no,
I have
not
to do
easy.
my
I'm
work.
saying like,
Yeah,
yeah. No, I don't
yeah.
know. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm saying like you didn't set out to do it, but you were led to do it just through your desire to learn more, your
Well,
desire
to
to
be there,
collaborate,
of
your
course,
desire to,
yeah, because I thought it was the
yeah,
most stupid thing anyone could ask me to do. I thought people dress
right.
themselves. I don't want anyone to dress me. I know exactly what I
hmm
want to wear. And then when say, oh, they're going to pay for this. Okay, let me try it and see.
Right. So let's see. We had somebody, well, two people
Ali
actually
wants me,
said this.
Ali, who is a friend who I know, who I met you, right? So
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ali wants an importance to editing your work. Well, you have to edit your work. Yeah, or get someone to edit it to you. Because sometimes it's like having a child, you know what I mean? And you don't want to let go. But sometimes it's
Right.
good to have a team of people to help you with it. But of course I edit my work. You know, I go through it. When I go through a picture, for instance, I look and make sure the dress is lined the same way. The girl face looks good. Sometimes she might be turning the wrong way, but the dress is looking perfect. So it's getting all of these pieces together to make a perfect result.
Right. That
So,
team aspect.
but also it's not only me; it's also you get the photographer or whoever there to have a second look at it. I show
Right.
it to friends to say, "What do you think of this?" You know.
Good. I like that. That's important. Do we have questions from other people? Let's see. A perfect picture, yeah, or
Oh,
correct, a perfect picture.
Amy Fine Collins, who I don't know if you know Amy Fine Collins. She is a very important lady who has done a book on the best dress in the world. But
Okay.
Amy is also a historian on fashion,
Mm.
and she's
Mm-hmm.
asking me favorite fashion movie. Well, I have to say my favorite fashion movie has to be Funny Face with Audrey
Funny thing.
Hepburn, and
Okay.
Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn and playing, because it's everything that we do. I mean, um, Kay, um, you have someone playing Diana Vreeland, you had someone,
Mm-hmm.
Fred Astaire, playing Richard Avedon, and Audrey
Mm-hmm.
Hepburn playing the most perfect model. So that
Mm-hmm.
really is one of my favorite fashion. There's a few of them. That is
Okay.
one of
Top
them.
three.
And also Breakfast at Tiffany's, the clothing, a dream, beautiful. But also there's a 1930s movie called The Women.
The women.
The Women.
Mm-hmm.
It's a black and
Okay.
white picture, and it's a sequence of fashion shows in it. But it has all the divas of the 30s, Joan
Mm-hmm.
Crawford and everyone in it.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my three favorite fashion
Okay. Good
movies.
to know. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have from the audience for now? Let's see. Let's see.
This the ones
Uh,
that with Fashion Week.
Well, fashion weeks from other cities become big, like New York and London and Paris.
yes,
Um, oh,
like Lagos. Yeah, they've mentioned Lagos in
oh
there.
yes. Well, I think, to be quite honest, maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, what is happening in the near future? I think people are rethinking about these fashion shows only because of what we're going through now. Because because fashion show is like going to the zoo. You probably have a better time in the zoo than going to a bloody fashion show. But
Mm-hmm.
but you know what I mean? It's gotten totally out of hand. And but I think people are going to be a little bit more mindful. Also, on the designers part of it, they have to churn out so much merchandise. There is the fall and winter, then
Mm-hmm.
there's pre-fall and um, pre-spring
Resort.
and resort and all these
The
things.
resort wear
Who
and
needs all these
yeah.
clothes? Two great
Mm-hmm.
collections here from in my book is enough. In the old days,
Right.
that it was just that, and then
Right.
people will think more about how they bought clothes. They will invest in them. They might pay a price for it. But for instance, my mother, who was not a wealthy woman, but she
Mm-hmm.
would make sure she would buy one coat a year.
Mm-hmm.
She'd pay extra money. It's not about fast fashion, incidentally. She'd go to whatever store and invest in a perfect cashmere coat. And she wore
Mm-hmm.
that coat. That was a staple. It wasn't all
Right.
about
That was
having a
like,
bunch of things that is disposable. And that's waste, incidentally, just for all of this stuff.
mm-hmm. It doesn't speak
No,
well to sustainability. So I
yes.
think can we touch on even like fast fashion, slow fashion, and then
Yes,
like
fast
the
fashion is
design slowing it down?
coming on
Yes,
to my
please.
point. Now, there is a movie, a documentary that I saw, and a few people saw it, called The Real Cost. It was a
Yes.
documentary. Have you seen it? But if
I
you
think so.
haven't,
That's mm-hmm.
it was done around 2016,
2017.
2017. And
Right.
I went to a private viewing with a few of the editors. It was at Lincoln Center. And it
Mm-hmm.
really opened my eyes to see what is going on with fast fashion. And it was
Right.
they were addressing the world of Zara, H&M, and Topshop.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people dying. The wife of Colin Firth, the actor, his wife is an Italian lady, went with a photographer anonymously through all of these countries in
Mm-hmm.
Africa, India, China,
India. Yep.
and seeing the state where their places being burnt with children in it, because these
Mm-hmm.
mothers have to take their children to work, sit and wait for them to work,
Right.
and you have to realize, one has to realize actually, that these dyes are being dyeing the clothes, are
Mm-hmm.
done in rivers. Now, what
Yep.
the rivers is where drinking water goes
Mm-hmm.
through. I'm saying, is fashion actually killing people?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
think about it.
I
These are
mean, the
what
documentary showed it literally was.
yeah, it is.
It,
And then there was It also was one in the fields here in
Texas. The
Texas,
cotton fields.
the cotton fields. It's all
Hmm.
these things when the machines were getting into, well,
The pesticides.
Yeah.
the pesticides that they're putting in these
Hmm.
thing, it's getting into humans. So
Hmm.
we have to think about that, and that's
So
fast fashion.
it is. Do you think the biggest contributor, like, do you think that the fashion industry, as far as like the designers deciding to slow down their pace when it comes to really going back to the original fall, winter, spring, summer?
Well, I'm saying
Um,
that. I hope so. I mean, I'm saying that because it is a lot
mhm.
of pressure on these designers. And I mean,
It
the
is.
thing is, with the economy and all of that, who's buying all these? You know what I mean? You want to buy the right thing, and you know, it's going to change the way how
Hmm.
people. Because every 5 minutes they go and get a copy at Zara, and of course the internet and people buy things, wear them. They buy things online, incidentally,
Hmm.
and then they send it back. They wear them and probably send it back the next day.
Right.
They wear to a
Right. Right.
wedding or whatever, you know. So,
Hmm.
you know,
It's not a
it's
lot of like that investment
no,
anymore.
no,
It's
no, no, no,
very
no,
much
no,
just
no,
buy
no.
it for whatever you need
And
it and
it's
then return
sadly, I
it.
mean, these, of course, all of these things, getting things online, it has a purpose. I get
Hmm.
things online, obviously, but for instance, we had to get food online. Thank God, you know what I mean.
Right.
So,
Right.
but but this it has also corrupted the whole charm of going in and trying something on and falling in love with it
Hmm.
because of this having all these stuff being there's an anonymous kind of thread that makes you
Right.
buy clothing.
Very, very true. I think too, it is extremely excessive. And then I think when you are more exposed to documentaries, from people who are like in fashion and not even in fashion, because both sides have a very impactful voice. When you see the real cost of it, and then you think of the pandemic we're in now,
Oh, people
us being able
suffering
to
from
have
it, of
time to
course.
sit back, you can really see the cost of like sustainability, our future, our
Yeah.
globe when it comes to climate change, our globe when it comes to the toxic nature of a lot of the environments so many people live in, um, America, China, things of that nature, just from smog and this, that, and the third. I hope that it's a moment to really, really slow down and kind of start to dial things back, especially with fashion being such a huge contributor to pollution in the economy and in the world. But yeah,
Well,
I
I think
mean,
these
can you
conversations, I'm sorry, these
go
conversations
ahead?
are going to help that, I think, because it's not only me doing it, it's
Hmm.
people all over the world talking about all of
Having it.
this. Yeah. So,
Right.
but I just think, let's leave on hope and
Hmm.
being creative, being
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
positive, and being healthy. What can I say?
Right. No, I think all those are amazing. I appreciate you having this conversation with us so much.
Yeah.
Um, how did you? Oh, okay. One more question. How do you train your eye to know when your work is good? I think that's a good one to leave off on.
Well, I have a point of view, but if I have any doubts about anything, I have a very strong point of view.
Hmm.
Very opinionated about what I like and what I don't like. There's no F. I don't
Right.
go through a gray. It's either black or white to me in color. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
In making my mind up.
Hmm.
And I either like something or something bothers me. You know what I mean? So I go by my own instinct, and if I'm not sure about something, I get someone else to look at it with a fresh eye.
Okay. Good to know. I think that'll help a lot from the photographers to the
Yeah,
stylists and creative directors here.
yeah. I just want to thank. We're going to be off now, right?
Yeah, we're about to log off.
Yeah, I just want to thank all of my wonderful friends. They obviously had nothing else to do, so Deborah
I appreciate
Moses,
them tuning in just as much.
Sandy Linter, who's a dear friend of mine.
Yes.
Rebecca Moses, who's also, they're all my good friends actually. What am I saying? So,
Mhm.
Gianni, my cousin Isaac, Nicole Fischles, Lou, I tell you, Coco. Oh my God. Anyway, thank you everyone for bearing with this, bearing with me.
Bearing with us, bearing with, I mean, it was amazing. No, I
Well,
think your
you're a
insight,
pro at it. I'm not.
oh, not at all, not at all. I think your insight was just so amazing. I even said this when we talked on the phone that I think just like the conversation I knew we would be able to have, I felt needed to be shared
Yeah.
more. just because your wealth of information and your insight is so rare and it's so unique. So I really, really, truly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again. And thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for
And
doing it. We
also,
appreciate you.
Carl thanks you too.
Right. Tell Carl I said thank you very much too.
I'll call you later.
All right, for sure. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All
And
right,
that
thank
is
you.
all for today. Bye-bye.
So that's it.